Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday, and I am so excited to introduce to you my new friend, Ralph. Hello, Ralph. How are you?
Hello, I'm very good, especially now. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to learn all about you. Just like myself, you are a multi passionate entrepreneur. So, why don't you tell the fans exactly what it is that you do, the businesses that you have? I want to hear all about it.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I've been a travel photographer and an international tour organizer for about 15 years full time now. And I've got several travel brands. I started out Photo Enrichment Adventures, which are a little bit more skewed towards people that have an interest in photography. Although I tried to create a trip that is very casual. They're not photo workshops or anything like that. So if someone had an interest in photography and wanted to bring along a friend or a spouse, they'd be more than welcome. And even without a camera, they'd fit right in and have a great time. It's not like, sometimes I imagine photo workshops are, people spending an hour on every flower photographing and, the spouse kind of dragging behind, mumbling, grumbling to themselves. But no, we're not like that. I like to put people in the right place at the right time. And even without a camera, who doesn't want to be in beautiful light, the best time of day, and, no tourists. I also have a new brand called A La Campagna Experiences, which
Cool.
kind of came out of the clients of mine asking me to develop a sort of different type of trip. And that's more about the culture, the food, wine tasting, not moving around a country or region quite as much, and really doing a deep dive into one, maybe two locations on a shorter trip of maybe 7 to 10 days, and mostly concentrated around the Mediterranean. So France, Portugal, Spain, Italy are the uh, places that I have tours to right now. And then I just started a new uh, brand called the Continental Drifter, and that's a YouTube channel. And I'm really enjoying that. And that's at youtube.com/ the Continental Drifter. And I'm sure you're going to put up the
Mhm.
links there. So, but yeah, and that actually kind of came out of a TV show idea that I still have and still may and still am pursuing. But so it's a YouTube channel that it kind of similar to my trips, where the demographic is like 40s plus travelers. So kind of Gen X and baby boomer type travelers.
Mhm.
Those are the type of people that I get on my trips. But yeah, it's about travel tips and photography tips, and just kind of follow me around the world and some of the really cool places I've been to and experiences I've had. There's nothing I love to do more than share where I've been and what I've done and who I've met with the people that are either on my trips or that follow my YouTube channel.
You have an exciting life, period.
Yeah.
I am very envious because I enjoy traveling, but um, I can't do as much as I would love to. So I love how your businesses and how you've grown and how they've kind of snowballed into one another, right? Like, so what got you started in photography?
Yeah, I've always been a traveler since I was 15, and I studied in Madrid, Spain for a summer. And the next summer I was a volunteer in Peru. The next summer I was a volunteer
Wow.
in Venezuela. And the next summer I studied in Mexico City. And so I've always been a traveler and always had a camera like most travelers. But of course, this was before digital photography, before the internet, before cell phones, practically before the wheel. But that was a while ago. And so like most travelers, I've always had a camera with me. And so I started getting some, comments that, boy, you're not just taking photographs, you're really making some great great images. And so I was encouraged that way. And so I've always been interested in photography. And then with the dawn of digital photography, let's say around 2000, I saw an opportunity where people were starting to get into digital photography. They were buying these new digital devices that no one knew how to use. And so I saw an opportunity to perhaps teach people how to use those devices in really cool places, and started out thinking that I would just create some photo walking tours in Chicago, where I was living at the time. And then I realized, well, the sweet spot of the seasons probably maybe 6 months out of the year. So I was looking for a way to move back to Southern California, where I'd lived already before that, but had come back to Chicago. And so I got a job out there as a financial advisor, just to have a job. And then that's when I created my business. And I literally took a yellow pad, and when I was thinking about renewing my lease on because I had a restaurant at the time, downtown Chicago.
Okay. Wow.
This was 2004, 2001 to 4. And I was getting to the point where I had to renew my lease or sell and get out of the business. So this was right around 9/11, as you can imagine. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to sell. And so what I did is I took a yellow pad, and on the left side, I said, what don't I like about the restaurant business? I have to have employees. I have a big, nut every month for rent. And, I'm selling something that people put in their mouths and could make them ill. And, all these different reads. I came home smelling like a French fry every night. So I on the opposite side of the page, I said, I don't want employees. I want to work for myself. I want to work outside. And, I don't want to have a high overhead. So I was kind of, I guess, what they call today location independent, or a minimalist, before that was probably even a term.
Probably.
Yeah. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to start these photo walking tours. And, but I had this full-time job just to pay the bills. So it took, quite a while, as you know, to build a business. But then in September of 2008, we all know what happened. And I was a financial advisor, and we had the financial crisis. But in the end, that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And I consider the day after that to be the day I went full time, and I never looked back again. So I burned all the bridges.
Yeah, you drew the line in the sand, as they
Right.
say.
That's right.
That's great. So, as a photographer, travel photographer, how do you pick your locations, or did the locations pick you? Like, what? Tell me that process.
Yeah, when I first started out, I started putting together trips to places that I wanted to go to, that I was interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got pretty, normal taste, I suppose. But as time went on, and I got known in the industry, destinations started approaching me and said, hey, I see that you don't do trips to Armenia or Romania, wherever. Would you like to come here for a scouting trip and, check out what we have? And so I didn't take all those trips, and, some of them were sponsored by the tour operator in the destination, but some of them I paid for. And, there's pros and cons to each. It sounds like, free travel's, great, but that's not always the case. So sometimes I would be approached, and if I was interested in the destination, I would go, and I had the time. I would go, and more often than not, I think there's only been a couple times that I've scouted where I didn't end up doing a trip to that place. I'm actually leaving tomorrow morning as we record this for Colombia, and that's going to be a scouting trip for a trip that I'm looking to put together to that country.
So what does it take to, from your scouting trip, to decide that you're going to put together a travel package for your clients?
Yeah, when I get down there, the things I'm definitely looking at is certainly meeting the local guides, the local tour operator, make sure that our personalities work together, which more often than not they do. But also looking at the infrastructure for travel in the destination. What are the roads like to get between destinations if we're changing hotels
Yep.
and things like that? Because it can vary. You can have beautiful highways like in Turkey has some of the best highways in the world in parts of the country. And then other ones where, like I've done trips to Bhutan and might take you 10 hours to get 100 miles.
Mhm.
And so I would look at the tourist infrastructure. What are the hotels like? The food? I'm always thinking about how my clients are going to appreciate or be, treated there and what their experience is going to be. Is there, good photo opportunities, whether or not it's a photo enrichment trip or a la campagna experience. And so there's a lot that goes into it. And I love the scouting trips. They're absolutely wonderful because typically I'm one-on-one with the tour operator or guides in these amazing places, and so I can have these incredible experiences that even if I try to share them with my group when we go back later, which my groups are very small, anywhere from 4 to 10 people max, there's a little bit different of a dynamic. If it's just me and a local artisan or something, or if it's 8 or 10 people and that person. But still, I've got nothing but 5-star reviews, so my clients just love what I'm doing, and so I get a lot of really good feedback in that sense, and so I keep doing it.
That's great. How do people find out about you? Like, how have you marketed your business to get well known in the community?
Sure. When I first started out, like I said, in Southern, I had moved to Southern California at that time. This would have been about 2005 to 8. And I had this full-time job as a financial advisor, but I was doing a lot of speaking engagements or teaching at adult education programs in Southern California, City of Newport Beach, UC Irvine Extension Program, Saddleback College, the Orange County Fair, anywhere that I could get in front of people that had an interest in travel and or photography, I would do it. And more often than not, I wasn't getting paid for those engagements, but it was a fantastic exposure for what I do. It allowed me to, because what I was doing at that time, like I said, 2006, 7, and we still get these, maybe yearly or 6 months per year things from the local college or adult education
Mhm.
programs, libraries, and I would see in there someone teaching how to use the camera, which, like I said, I saw that opportunity where people were going to want to learn how to use these digital cameras. And so people were already doing that. A few people were teaching the camera at that time. I said, and I had just gotten back from some pretty amazing trips to Eastern Europe and South America. So I had a really nice portfolio of images. And I said, you know what? I want to teach people how to see. There's already people teaching the camera, so that's taken care of. But you can give the best camera to a bad photographer and they're not going to get great shots, or you can give any camera to a good photographer and they're probably going to get some really nice images. First tip in my book is that it's not about the camera. But so I said, you know what? I want to teach people to see with whatever kind of camera they have, whatever level of photographer they are, and that's something that a skill that is, like I said, and you could, whether you have a camera or not, uh, who doesn't want to learn how to appreciate light, people, different backgrounds and things like that, and being out at the best time of day.
Yeah, I love that idea and concept though. I've had somebody, even just with my cell phone camera, they, because I do take a lot of pictures, obviously, with my phone, like we all do, right?
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
always on us. And they put the grid on my, so when I put up the camera, I was like, oh my gosh, that's like major life changing the way you look at objects and things is by having that grid. It makes my brain work a little bit differently.
Yep.
So I love the fact that you said, it's about what you see versus the camera that you use, and having that grid on makes me see things a little bit differently.
Yeah,
But
and I say that it's not what you look at, it's what you see.
yeah, yeah.
And it's very different. And so yeah, that grid, that rule of thirds grid that you're talking about helps you to keep a level horizon, maybe put things off center to use that rule of thirds, which is a very aesthetically pleasing way to photograph. But sometimes we just always want to put that subject right smack in the center, and it's usually very ho-hum.
Yeah. So your business has evolved from the photo enrichment type of trips to now a new version. Can you kind of give us a background on how that happened and where this might be leading you in the future?
Absolutely. So the Alla Campagna experiences came out of, in part, because some of my clients were asking me for these kinds of trips. They'd been with me on my photo enrichment adventures. They love the trips, but they can be a little bit uh, go, 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 which I try not to do because I think it's so important to appreciate slow travel to me is very important. And so I've never tried to like jam pack every single day for 14 days full of stuff to do. So on average, we do about a half day scheduled activities, half day free time. And that's another great reason to bring a friend or a spouse, and you have time to go out and make your own experiences, do things that maybe interest the friend or spouse that aren't with the group. You don't feel like you have to be with the group the whole time,
Right.
because having to be with the same 8 or 10 people for 14 days, 24/7, that's probably no fun. So it's a really nice hybrid. And so clients were saying, yeah, we love your trips, but what about if and a lot of my clients are very traveled. So they've been to the big name places. So I try to, go a notch or two off of, we're not, hiking Kilimanjaro or anything, but trying to go to really nice places with a great infrastructure, but that are a little bit off the beaten path. And so also what with the Alla Campagna experiences, which the name kind of fun came from, Alla Campagna means to the countryside in Italian. But Campagna is also my mother's maiden name. And
Oh, that's
so,
cool.
yeah. So it's kind of an homage to her, but they're more where we're staying in private castles in the south of France,
Love it.
wine estates in Portugal, beautiful boutique hotels, paradors, which are former fortresses and private mansions and things in Spain. So just amazing property, agriturismos in Italy. So the property itself is a destination. That was another thing that I wanted to do, because oftentimes, and we've always stayed at really nice properties. But I always said, I want clean, I want safe, and I want well located. And so that's what I would do with my most of my photo enrichment trips. But with Alla Campagna, I wanted the property to be a destination too, because oftentimes we can't wait to get out of the hotel. Why? Who's going to sit at the hotel, right? Well, if the hotel is an 11th century castle with 270 acres of hiking trails and gardens and a swimming pool, I mean, maybe you don't want to leave one day, right? Uh, right. So that's where this idea came from, where the property itself would be a destination, and then you still have about half day scheduled, half day free time, and but it's not as much packing and unpacking or moving from destination to destination. On some of my trips, I used to have maybe a 6 or 8 hour drive to get from one city to the next, like let's say in Morocco, a wonderful country, but there's a lot of windshield time, and so I said, let's maximize, so now we do a hub and spoke. So we stay in one location and then we just take little hour day trips into the local villages and things to do in and around the area. And as you can see, there are different kinds of travels. There, of course, we've all still got our cameras and everything with us on the a la Campagna experiences, but they're not on the photo enrichment trips. I would have mid-trip image reviews. I would do photo walks and things like that. So there's less of that, but we're doing wine tasting. We're meeting local artisans, going to incredible restaurants, foodie tours. I love foodie tours. Yeah. Yeah, you do. There's, next to the locals, to me, there's nothing more specific to a place than its cuisine or its food. And so I love doing foodie tours where we'll go out with a local expert and maybe we do a market walk and they show us all the exotic fruits and vegetables that we've never seen before where we're from, how to buy them, what to call them, how to prepare them sometimes, cooking classes and demonstrations, and then how to eat them.
Right. Yeah.
But wine tasting with different spirits, because every country has their own hooch, their own
Right.
moonshine that they make, especially in Europe. Yeah. And so we'll go see how they make that, which is really interesting. What else? We did caviar tasting in south of France, olive oil tasting, walnut and hazelnut oil tasting. It just depends what's local to that place. Let's go check it out. Let's learn about it. To me, that's why I travel.
Yeah, I love it. I love the experience that you try to bring to your guests. The one question I like to ask my guests on the show is, being in business for yourself, having, especially a solopreneur, it gets lonely, it gets scary at times. What's one hurdle that you've had to overcome that maybe you could share your experience of what got you through it with our listeners and our watchers?
Yeah,
Viewers, watchers.
we're all going through that now, right? With the pandemic and everything, and people are, stuck at home and oftentimes by themselves or just with one or two people. With my job, what I do, it seems like I'm either by myself or I'm with a group of 8 or 10 people. It's almost nothing in between. So feast or famine. So it's I when I'm scouting in these places, I'm often eating alone or doing these amazing things by myself at times. And so there's nothing like being with a group of other people or a friend or a spouse and having someone to share these things with. Absolutely. So I try to emphasize that. But it is a feast or famine thing for my business. That's for sure.
So I'm sure COVID hit you pretty hard with the fact that, so many countries were closed. There's so many different restrictions. But it sounds like maybe things are opening up a little bit, that you're able to explore and get back out there and do these exciting trips.
Yeah, it's a great question. So of course I was just hit incredibly hard with COVID, and I think the travel industry probably got hit the hardest, and certainly the restaurant industry and the retail and stuff like that. But I'll tell you what, I was glad that I made the decision that I did to go location independent and to get my expenses down, to not have that restaurant, the cost of that retail space like I did. That would have really been difficult. So they say you can either increase your sales or you can decrease your expenses, and you're making money either way. So I'm glad that I really got my expenses down and was able to do that. But I did travel quite a bit over the past 2 years that it's been now, just about. And I spent 2 months in Turkey. I was in Nicaragua, Costa Rica. I finally, and those were pleasure and scouting trips, so not making any money, only costing me money. But But then I finally was able to run my first Alla Campagna experiences because COVID hit right when I was getting ready to launch the Alla Campagna trips. And so I finally had an opportunity to run those trips because people had put in their deposits and made their reservations and stuff. So I ran those last fall to Spain, my northern Spain and northern Spain's Basque Country and Rioja trip, which is fabulous. We did the postcard Puglia, Italy, which is the heel of the boot. And we did the France's magical Dordogne, where we stayed at this 11th century castle. So it was great to be back out there with my clients, to see them again, which I hadn't seen for a long time, some of them. And my clients have become more friends than anything. So that's the beauty, is I feel like I'm traveling with friends. They feel like they're traveling with friends because they know so many of the other people on our trips from other trips that they've taken. So I get about 40, 50% of my clients on any trip are repeat customers.
That's incredible.
And yeah, so they know each other from other trips, and they love to see each other. And you're kind of hitting the ground running, and there's not that sort of awkward getting to know each other. So that was absolutely fantastic. I have the best clients and the coolest people that travel with me on these trips. So it's nothing but fun.
That sounds like a dream come true of having a business that you get to travel and meet amazing people and see so many great things. I was just going through, well, not that I had to go through Facebook memories, but it reminded me of the trip we took right before COVID, and my family went to Costa Rica. And today on my memories is when we saw a sloth, and that was like my bucket list, right? I want to see a sloth in Costa Rica. And we stayed at a really unique resort. We had bungalows, that were out in the trees. So you really got that experience of being kind of in the rainforest. And when we arrived, the place, they were fantastic. And they're like, in the morning, we always have a walk. If you want to take a walk, we have a guide. And after our breakfast, I was with my parents. My parents took us all on a dream trip of theirs. And I was like, we should do this. And so, because we really didn't have anything planned for that day. And we did. And the tour guide, that's what I remember. This guy, you knew he had a passion for what he did. And with our own eyes, we wouldn't have noticed the sloth. Yeah. And because this was like his backyard, he walked this every day. He knew where to look, and he gave me the experience of a lifetime. It wasn't anywhere near where I could touch, but I got to see it. And it was just, and some of the other things, like we saw these ants that, I forget what that, leaf carrying ants, never seen
leaf
those
cutter ants. Yep.
And I'm videotaping. I'm like, these are the coolest things ever. And he's like, that's this kind of ant. I was like, oh my gosh. And a cool snake. And I'm like, the things that I didn't even think about. And I remembered this morning, what a fantastic trip that was. But if we just decided not to take that walk, it wouldn't have been such an experience. And that resort, I would definitely go back to. It was so cool. And so when you're talking about splitting up the trip, because we were up in the high country and then we went down by the ocean, and that trip, that car ride was not fun.
Bone breaking, back breaking, right?
It was not fun.
Costa Rican massage, right?
Yeah. And but what was so cool about it is that you really saw how different the country was, right? So we were in this lush, green, beautiful, and then you're driving and it's brown and nasty, and then it's it's getting really hot. And like, I'm like, this is the same country. This is crazy. But yeah, it was quite the experience that we had there. But I shall not ramble anymore. We're getting close to the end, but I just had to share that because
Sure.
it's those little things that, really impact those little things, that little walking tour that the resort had that really made my trip over the top. So
It's almost always about the locals, whether it's a guide that you might have or someone that they've introduced you to. And
yeah,
I always tell my guides, I'm interested in meeting interesting local people and, what artisans and things like that. And then it's like, you know what? I know a guy who owns a sheepfold just up the way here. Would you be interested in seeing that? Yeah, let's go check it out. And then it turns out to be one of the greatest experiences of your life.
yeah.
Fantastic.
So I also like to give my guests an opportunity to promote themselves however you would like. So I do have your social channels I'll put up there, but the floor is yours. However you want to invite people to come and visit you. Take it away, Ralph.
Great. Yeah. So my websites can be found at photoenrichment.com. That's, of course, for Photo Enrichment Adventures. And those are my little bit more photography focused. Again, I call them cultural tours with a focus on photography. So you don't have to have any kind of camera at all. Some people ask, well, do I need a certain level of camera, or, how expensive? Do I need an expensive camera? Do I need to be a professional? Absolutely not. So you don't have to be any kind of photographer whatsoever. I am shooting more and more with my smartphone. I'm doing a lot of video because I've got the YouTube channel now, but these smartphones are getting to the point where they just might surpass the regular cameras at some point. And I think just the convenience of them is worth so much, because not only can we take photographs, but there's video, time lapse, slow motion, sound. There's such a, and then you can share things right from the camera or from the phone. So incredibly diverse devices. A la Campagna experiences are at alacampagna.com. Most of my trips tend to be in the spring and fall, but I do have summer and winter trips as well. So people can go to the website, check those out. Upcoming, I've got the postcard Puglia, Italy. I've got a taste of northern Portugal, which is Porto and the Douro Valley. And we stay at a wine estate there right on the valley there, just stunningly beautiful. And that's going to be my next YouTube video. And Spain is coming up again, Costa Rica, and then Armenia, Georgia. Oftentimes I'm asked what's my favorite country, and I can never say that, but Armenia and the Republic of Georgia are way up there. Very, very interesting, pretty off the beaten path, but still great tourist infrastructure, unbelievable food, good roads. So it's really, really nice destination. And then I'd love it if people would go to my YouTube channel. Just look for Continental Drifter. And if you'd like to get some great travel tips, I've got a whole playlist that I call the best travel tips. And there's subjects like travel during COVID, why to hire a local guide, where I talk one about put the camera down. So I say, put the camera down and see the place, with your eyes, not through the viewfinder of a camera all the time. Travel photography is 2 words. Spend just as much time traveling as you do photographing. So, people might not expect me to say that as a photographer, but sometimes we end up just seeing a place through the viewfinder and you didn't really experience it. So make an effort to do that. So that's my best travel tips playlist. So I think people get some really good tips, how to use money, ATM cards, credit cards, things like that while on the road.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you on to learn all about what you do. And I now have a travel bug, so thank you.
All right.
Everybody check him out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I put it all up there for you. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and we will sure to get back to you. Thanks again. We'll talk to you guys later.
So long.